Hey wine lovers, welcome back to Winometer Weekly Wine News, the podcast that pairs perfectly with your pour and won't waste your time doing it.
Unless you're a rat with a sommelier license, in which case, welcome to the Wine Club.
Today we're diving into why Gen Z is drinking less, how Napa's leaning on AI to handle climate chaos, and yes, rats that can tell a Riesling from a Sauv Blanc.
Plus, Target's putting wine in paper bottles, bees are saving your vineyard, and some alarming forever chemicals just crash the tasting room.
And with Cinco de Mayo around the corner, we've got wine pairings for all your taco cravings. Plus, a shout out to a killer Mexican wine pick you probably haven't tried yet.
Also, our producer Chuck has a new children's book dropping in June. It stars an anxious yellowjacket, and yes, it's adorable. Details later in the show.
So whether you're sipping in a hammock or just trying to survive another week of inbox chaos, we've got you covered.
Let's pour into it.
Okay, let's talk about something that's been freaking out everyone from bar owners to Bordeaux. Gen Z is drinking less alcohol. Like, a lot less.
Yeah, apparently hangovers aren't part of the aesthetic anymore. What happened to suffering for your fun?
According to a new Rabobank report, it's not just about wellness or being sober curious. It's deeper than that. Gen Z came of age during some pretty bleak times. COVID, climate change, and a never-ending stream of bad news. So they're more intentional, more anxious, and honestly, more likely to reach for a THC gummy than a glass of wine.
I mean, if I came of age thinking the world was ending, I'd probably skip the Chardonnay and head straight for the edible aisle too.
The report also notes that Gen Z isn't anti-alcohol, they're just not loyal to it. They're experimenting more and drinking less frequently, and they expect more from brands.
Translation: Hi, we're Gen Z and we're here to make your marketing department cry.
But here's the opportunity brands that do align with their values. Organic, low alcohol, sustainable, fun packaging. Gen Z actually will spend money, just not on the same old stuff.
So no, they're not killing wine, but they're definitely forcing it to grow up a little, which coming from the youngest generation is kind of poetic.
All right, we've officially entered the sci-fi chapter of winemaking. Napa Valley is turning to artificial intelligence to deal with climate chaos.
Honestly, same. If AI can help me pick a wine when it's 87 degrees in February, I'll plug in whatever it wants.
So here's the deal. Napa's getting hit from all sides: heat waves, frost, drought, wildfire smoke. One winemaker described it as weather whiplash.
Yeah, it's like Mother Nature is playing spin the bottle with natural disasters, and Napa keeps getting picked.
Enter AI. Wineries are starting to use platforms like Tussle Technologies and Fruition Sciences. These tools gather data from vineyard sensors, satellite imaging, and weather forecasts to help winemakers make precision decisions.
It's like Waze for grapes, telling you when to irrigate, when to harvest, and probably when to panic.
Seriously. AI models can even detect when the vines are under water stress and calculate evapotranspiration rates, basically how thirsty your grapes are.
Meanwhile, I'm just trying to remember to water my basil.
And it's not just about yield. Wineries are hoping this tech helps them preserve quality. So they're not just surviving climate shifts, but still making killer cab.
Right. It's not adapt or die, it's adapt or start selling canned wine spritzers at Coachella.
Hey, don't knock the spritzers. Artificial intelligence isn't replacing the winemaker. It's more like giving them superpowers, so they're not just reacting to the weather but staying a step ahead.
As long as it doesn't start writing tasting notes like, "This Chardonnay expresses existential nirvana with subtle hints of honeysuckle."
I would definitely drink that for the plot. Okay, I promise we're not making this up. Scientists have trained rats, actual lab rats, to sniff out the difference between Riesling and Sauvignon Blanc.
I knew the sommelier job market was tight, but I didn't realize we were competing with rodents now.
Researchers at the University of Bern in Switzerland tested whether rats could distinguish between aromatic white wines. And yep, turns out their little noses are wildly sensitive to wine volatiles.
So they're out here blind sniffing Riesling and getting it right. Meanwhile, I still second guess myself when I'm at wine tastings.
During training sessions, the rats would smell one wine, then get rewarded for picking the matching scent out of a set. After 15 trials, they nailed it.
Okay, but imagine a rat turning its nose up at your Sauvignon Blanc because it detects excessive pyrazines. That's humbling.
The study wasn't just a party trick. It's part of research into olfaction and brain plasticity. But yes, it does mean some rats are now more wine-savvy than your cousin who only drinks red.
I need a t-shirt that says "out-sniffed by a rat."
Honestly, this opens up a lot of possibilities. Sommelier rats on TikTok? A tiny wine bar for rodents?
Picture it, Remy from Ratatouille. But instead of cooking, he's just swirling and judging your glassware.
Look, if a rat ever recommends a nice Trocken Riesling with my takeout tie, I'll listen.
Just don't let them near the corkage policy.
All right, here's a headline I didn't expect to see in a wine article. Let's talk about bees.
I thought we were talking about bee Beaujolais, but no, it's actual bees. And guess what? They're your secret drinking buddies.
According to Decanter, bees play a low-key but crucial role in the vineyard ecosystem. Not necessarily through pollination. Grapevines are mostly self-pollinating, but by boosting biodiversity.
Translation, even if the bees aren't pollinating your Pinot, they're keeping the vineyard vibes alive.
Exactly. Vineyards that support bee habitats tend to be healthier overall. It's all about creating a resilient ecosystem. Wildflowers, grasses, bugs that don't destroy crops.
Basically, the more bug-friendly your vineyard is, the less you have to rely on chemicals. So next time someone says their wine is sustainably farmed, ask them how the bees are doing.
And some winemakers are really stepping up, creating pollinator corridors, avoiding synthetic pesticides, even partnering with beekeepers to track hive health. It's not just good for the planet, it's good for the wine.
Meanwhile, I still panic anytime something with wings comes near my glass.
Speaking of bees, and we swear this wasn't planned, our producer, Chuck Griffith, actually has a new children's book coming out in June. It's called Monty Moves to Honeytown Beach, and it's about an introverted yellowjacket finding his place in a buzzing new town.
It's adorable. Think of it as Finding Nemo meets B-movie, but more emotionally available.
We'll remind you when it drops, so you can grab a copy for the kids. Or just yourself.
Especially if you've been out-sniffed by a rat this week, you deserve a win.
All right, quick break. Question. Have you ever found yourself staring at your inbox, feeling that low-grade hum of dopamine deficiency, like you're checking boxes but not really living?
Maybe it's the fourth Zoom of the day, or that moment when going outside just means pacing between your kitchen and your couch.
If that's hitting a little too close to home, check out Digital Nomad Bootcamp. It's not just for travel influencers. It's for anyone who wants to design a life that isn't run by notifications, status meetings, or Sunday scaries.
The course walks you through how to land remote work, build income streams, deal with taxes abroad, and yes, actually find decent Wi-Fi in beautiful places.
Whether it's a cafe in Lisbon, a rooftop in Mexico City, or just somewhere that isn't here, this is your roadmap out.
Because sometimes the best move isn't climbing the ladder, it's changing buildings.
You can start today at digitalnomadbootcamp.school.
That's digitalnomadbootcamp.school. Go where the signal and the serotonin actually reach you.
Now back to our stories. Okay, our next story involves whiskey from Chile and a surprisingly intense EU trade dispute.
Nothing like international bureaucracy to spice up your Thursday pour.
So the European Union just finalized a trade agreement with Chile that includes new geographical indications. Basically, they're rules about who gets to use protected names, like Champagne, Roquefort, and, in this case, rye whiskey.
Which means cue the rage of European rye producers who are not thrilled that Chilean spirits might get to use the same label without following the same rules.
Yeah. They're arguing it dilutes the meaning of rye whiskey and opens the door to knockoffs that don't meet traditional standards.
Which is like letting someone call boxed Franzia Burgundy again and pretending it's fine. Spoiler, it's not fine.
Here's why this matters in wine. These GI agreements protect names like Rioja, Bordeaux, and Barolo. If one gets undermined, it could ripple out and impact how wines are labeled and trusted.
Lose that protection, and next thing you know, you're drinking champagne-style bubbles that taste like a road trip through Albuquerque.
So yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on. Labels aren't just marketing, they're legal shortcuts for quality and origin.
And the day someone tries to sell me Chateauneuf du Pape is the day I start brewing my own.
All right. Heads up. This one's a little less fun, but kind of important. A new German study just found traces of something called TFA, or trifluoroacetic acid, in dozens of European wines.
And no, TFA isn't a new flavor profile. It's what scientists call a forever chemical, which is as ominous as it sounds.
Yeah, forever chemicals don't break down in the environment. TFA specifically can come from things like refrigerants, industrial runoff, and even pesticides. And once it's in the water cycle, it sticks around.
So just to recap, the climate's going off the rails, Rats are becoming sommeliers, and now our wine might come with a side of invisible industrial byproduct. We are absolutely thriving.
The researchers tested 36 wines from 8 countries and found TFA in all of them. Not just one region, France, Germany, Italy, you name it.
To be clear, the levels are super low, not considered harmful at this point. But it's a wake-up call about how much human-made stuff is ending up in natural products.
Exactly. And it's not just wine. These chemicals have been showing up in rainwater, snow, even drinking water. Wine just happens to be the latest to get tested.
Look, we're not here to be alarmist, but it's worth thinking about where your wine comes from and how it's made. Environmental transparency is the next frontier of quality.
It's also a reminder that sustainable winemaking isn't just about the vineyard. It's about protecting water sources, the air, and everything that touches the grapes.
So if your favorite bottle starts bragging about being TFA-free next year, now you know why.
And in the meantime, maybe pour a glass and read the label. Or at least toast to the hope that science keeps catching this stuff before it becomes a real problem.
Also toast to bees, they'd never let this happen.
All right, for this week's Hot Takes and Trends, we have to talk about Target's latest move, launching a wine collection in paper bottles. Yes, you heard that right, wine, in something that looks like it should be holding oat milk.
You know what? I'm not mad. I've seen worse ideas come out of Temecula.
It's called The Collection, and it features California-grown wines, Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, and a rosé, all under $17. The bottles are made of 94% recycled paper, with a food-grade liner to hold the wine.
It's like if your boxed wine went to art school, got a sustainability minor, and now lives in Silver Lake.
But here's the cool part. These paper bottles are about 5 times lighter than glass, way more eco-friendly to ship, and fully curbside recyclable. And honestly, they look kind of chic.
I'll give them points for the aesthetic. They look like they were designed for someone who drinks wine in a hammock and has strong opinions about composting.
And let's be real. If it tastes good, this could be a total game changer for casual weeknight wine.
My only concern is structural integrity. Like, if I leave this bottle out in the rain, does it become soup?
I mean, don't leave any bottle out in the rain, Chris.
Fair.
But in a world full of overpriced glass bottles and marketing fluff, seeing a major retailer like Target take a real swing at sustainability, that's worth a toast.
Just make sure your toast doesn't collapse mid-pour.
All right, this week's question comes to us on Instagram at wine.o.meter, which asked, is there actually a reliable way to get red wine out of a carpet, or should I just move out and start over?
First of all, relatable. Second, believe it or not, there might be a solution that doesn't involve faking your own death and fleeing the lease.
According to scientists at Oxford University, yes, the same people who probably invented Latin grammar and emotional repression, the key is white wine vinegar.
That's right. Turns out vinegar contains acetic acid, which breaks down anthocyanins, the pigments in red wine that make your couch look like a crime scene.
You just mix white vinegar with water, blot the stain, and follow with a little dish soap. The key is blot, don't rub.
And don't panic. Nothing makes a wine stain worse than full-body anxiety and frantic scrubbing.
Also, skip the old myth of pouring white wine on top of red wine to neutralize it. That's not science. That's just wasting more wine.
Unless it's a really bad Sauvignon Blanc. Then by all means, sacrifice it.
So yes, vinegar's the real MVP here. Just keep a bottle in the pantry next to your wine stash, one for drinking, one for disaster. Cinco de Mayo's around the corner, and while we love a good margarita, let's talk wine pairings for Mexican food that go beyond the blender.
Yes, believe it or not, wine and tacos can be best friends if you pick the right bottle and don't get too precious about it.
Let's start with the basics. Spicy, citrusy dishes like ceviche, tacos al pastor, or shrimp with salsa verde love a crisp whites, something like Bonterra Sauvignon Blanc or Joel Gott Sauvignon Blanc, both under $20 and super bright on the palate.
And if you're doing grilled meats or mole, reach for a chillable red. I'm talking Ridge 3 Valleys or Brock Cellars Love Red, both California, both under 30, and both bring enough structure without overpowering the food.
And for enchiladas or birria tacos, Quilpé Central Coast Syrah hits that smoky, savory note perfectly.
But since you know I can't resist being the wild card, if you want to impress your wine snob friends, track down Santo Tomas Tempranillo from Baja. Yes, Mexico makes wine, and some of it is very legit.
It's true. Valle de Guadalupe is basically the Napa of Mexico, but way cooler, and with way more tacos.
Just pair that Tempranillo with some barbacoa and try not to cry from joy.
So whether you're Team Street Taco or Team Mole Enchiladas, there's a bottle out there that'll elevate the whole plate.
And if you still insist on the margarita, fine. But at least pour a glass of Albarino for the guac course.
Deal. Cheers to Cinco, and cheers to breaking out of the beer-only box. That's it for this week's Pour of Winometer Weekly Wine News. We covered everything from climate-smart winemaking to Target's paper bottle glow-up, and yes, even wine-sniffing rats.
Just another normal week in the world of fermented grapes.
Don't forget, Cinco de Mayo is coming up, so grab your Sauvignon Blanc, your Syrah, and maybe a bottle from Baja if you're feeling adventurous.
And while you're at it, give us a follow at wine.o.meter on Instagram, share the pod with your friends, and leave us a rating if you like what you hear.
Also keep your eyes peeled. Our producer Chuck Griffith's children's book, Monty Moves to Honeytown Beach, drops in June. If you've got kids, nieces, nephews, or just a soft spot for introverted yellowjackets, it's one to watch.
Winometer Weekly Wine News is a DCG Arts production.
What if I knew a way for you to work remotely on a beach in Thailand, a rooftop in Barcelona, or a cafe in Paris? Visit digitalnomadbootcamp.school to learn how to land remote jobs, qualify in another country as a digital nomad, and use AI to work less while earning more. This streamlined course is perfect for content creators, entrepreneurs, and freelancers. Remote work and financial freedom is one click away. Visit digitalnomadbootcamp.school to enroll today.